Have you ever felt a whisper of something ancient, something sorrowful carried on the wind from places time forgot? A lullaby, perhaps, echoing across the water, a song of love, of sacrifice, and of an unthinkable darkness lurking beneath the serene surface?
In the embrace of the lower delta, where the Hau River gracefully winds, nurturing fertile lands long before the modern world left its indelible mark, a quiet community thrived. Among them was Mr. Thompson, a landowner of unusual kindness. Unlike the tyrannical figures of old tales, Mr. Thompson was revered. He permitted his tenants to cultivate his vast, prosperous fields, stretching further than a bird could fly, without demanding a single grain in return. His benevolence fostered a rare harmony, a gentle rhythm of life echoed by the soft rustle of young rice shoots in the breeze.
It was within this tranquil setting that Mrs. Riley, an elderly woman with deep-set eyes and a perpetual chew of betel nut, would often murmur from her porch, "Is little Daisy asleep yet? Go on, Sarah. Prepare dinner for Ethan before he gets hungry." Her daughter-in-law, Sarah, a gentle soul from the distant coastal plains, had found love with Ethan and made this riverside community her home. Though initially homesick, the serene beauty of the Delta had slowly, irrevocably claimed her heart.
Sarah would reach for a worn scarf, draping it over Daisy's small form cradled in the hammock, then give a few gentle pushes before heading to the kitchen. Mrs. Riley, meanwhile, would often mend Ethan's work clothes by the hammock, humming a mournful lullaby. She fretted about the relentless mosquitoes that swarmed the fields, knowing they would leave him covered in painful, itchy welts.
Sarah's devotion knew no bounds. She would prepare Ethan's favorite dishes, savory fish, boiled sweet potato greens with chili salt and warm rice, carefully packing them into a wicker basket. Then, barefoot, she would navigate the muddy rice paddies to deliver his meal. Knowing the sweltering heat of the day, she even brought him a cooling herbal drink. As she approached, the cheerful banter of the other farmers filled the air. They teased Ethan, marveling at Sarah's unwavering care, how she always brought him food and a refreshing drink. Ethan, wiping sweat from his brow, would simply grin, and a quiet, shy smile would grace Sarah's face as she playfully nudged him for his boisterous remarks.
Their shared meals were simple, yet filled with a profound joy. They spoke of their day, of the rice, of their hopes. Sarah, though herself a new mother, exuded a quiet strength, a natural beauty that, in another era, would be called captivating. Ethan admired her deeply, her unwavering dedication to their home and family, her refusal to complain about their humble life. What they didn't know was that they were being watched. A hidden gaze filled with an indescribable mix of longing and malevolence followed Sarah's every movement, a presence as subtle and unsettling as the shifting river mist.
The oppressive heat of the day often gave way to the relentless downpours of the Delta's 6th month. As the skies darkened, Sarah would begin to cultivate small plots of land around their home, planting vegetables to sell, hoping to earn enough to buy meat or fish, or perhaps a little more milk for Daisy.
"Sarah, come in. The rain is getting heavier," Mrs. Riley would call from the kitchen. "Don't get sick, and check on Daisy. She's sleeping. Ethan will be home soon." Sarah, wiping sweat from her brow, would nod, promising to come in once her work was done. She continued to toil until the sky itself became a heavy, bruised canvas, casting the entire landscape into an oppressive twilight.
Finally, she stopped, rushing indoors. Daisy was already asleep, rocked gently by Mrs. Riley. Sarah quickly went to the kitchen to prepare Ethan's dinner. As she passed Mrs. Riley, who was still rocking the hammock, her mother-in-law asked, "Where are you going? It's too late, and the rain is too heavy. He can eat when he gets home." Sarah, glancing outside, replied, "No, I have to take it to him. What if he's hungry? I'll come back with him later, so please watch Daisy for me." With that, she vanished into the downpour, a lone, vulnerable figure beneath a tattered conical hat, braving the elements barefoot. Mrs. Riley watched her go, a flicker of concern in her eyes. Sarah was like a daughter to her, hard-working and kind, and she cherished her deeply.
The rain hammered down, drowning out all other sounds. Mrs. Riley, holding Daisy close, worried. It was already late, and neither Sarah nor Ethan had returned. Suddenly, Ethan's drenched form appeared at the door, shivering violently. "Ethan, where's Sarah? Didn't she come back with you?" Mrs. Riley asked, looking past him into the deepening gloom. Ethan, his teeth chattering from the cold, looked confused. "Sarah? Wasn't she here, Mom? She was supposed to bring me dinner." A cold dread began to creep into Mrs. Riley's heart. She urged him to go back out to find his wife.
Despite his exhaustion and the gnawing hunger, Ethan plunged back into the storm. He searched the nearby fields, calling Sarah's name, but only the relentless drumming of the rain answered him. His heart hammered in his chest, a frantic rhythm against the rising tide of fear. He stumbled, twisted his ankle, but forced himself up, limping onward, his desperate cries swallowed by the wind. Then, through the blurring curtain of rain, he saw a shadowy figure in a rain poncho. It was Old Man Davies, an elderly man known for his kindness, who lived in a small hut on Mr. Thompson's land, tending to his pigs. "Ethan, what are you doing out here in this storm?" Davies asked, his voice laced with concern. "Have you seen Sarah, Uncle Davies? She brought me dinner, but she hasn't come back. I can't find her." Davies shook his head, a troubled expression on his face. "No, I haven't seen her. Let's look together. I'll come to your house if I find anything." Ethan, his heart a raw wound, nodded his thanks, then continued his frantic search, his calls of Sarah echoing into the night. By 10 p.m., the rain had ceased, and the full weight of dread settled upon the community. The village gathered at Ethan's house, their faces etched with anxiety. The croaking of frogs filled the air from the newly planted fields. Little Daisy, finally asleep after a bottle of rice water, lay in Mrs. Riley's arms. Suddenly, a young man burst into the house. "We found Sarah!" he gasped, his voice trembling. A chorus of anxious questions erupted. Everyone loved Sarah. Her disappearance had cast a pall over the village. The young man hesitated, his gaze falling on Mrs. Riley's sorrowful face. A chill ran through the room. Mrs. Riley, her eyes wide with a terrible premonition, handed Daisy to a neighbor and gripped the young man's arm. "Where is she? Tell me!" He took a deep breath, his voice barely a whisper. "Sarah, she's dead." A collective gasp filled the room. He explained that Old Man Ben, a fisherman, had found her body in the river, trapped inside a pig cage, weighed down. Ethan was still at the riverbank. Mrs. Riley collapsed, grief overwhelming her. The entire village surged out of the house, torches blazing, illuminating the dark path to the river. The usually placid Hau River churned that night, as if mirroring the turmoil in their hearts. At the bank, Ethan, Old Man Davies, and Old Man Ben sat beside the pig cage, Sarah's body still trapped within. Ethan's screams of anguish tore through the night as he clawed at the cage, desperate to reach her. Old Man Ben, his face grim, pulled Ethan back and began to work on the rusted latch, while Old Man Davies frantically searched for something to pry it open. The cages of that time were sturdy, made of thick iron bars. Finally, with a mighty effort, Old Man Ben managed to pry open a large, stubborn knot of wire. Old Man Davies returned with a heavy piece of wood, and together they broke the last fastenings.
Ethan, finally released by the young man who had held him back, lunged forward, embracing Sarah's lifeless body, his cries of despair echoing across the water. The whole village, including the compassionate Mr. Thompson, arrived, their faces etched with sorrow. Mr. Thompson knelt, examining Sarah, then looked at Old Man Ben. "She's truly gone? When did you find her?" Ben's voice was heavy with grief. "Just a while ago. Her body was already stiff." Mr. Thompson sighed, turning away from the heartbreaking sight. The people of the lower delta were simple, kind-hearted souls, and Sarah's death had shaken them to their core.
Mr. Thompson, ever the pragmatic leader, spoke calmly, urging everyone to help carry Sarah's body home for the funeral rites. The young men nodded, but Ethan clung to his wife, refusing to let go. "No, Mr. Thompson, she couldn't have just died like this. I need to find out who did this to her. You have to help me." His voice was raw with grief and fury, his jaw clenched, making a chilling, grinding sound. Old Man Jenkins, known for his bluntness, stepped forward. "Ethan's right. We've never had anything like this happen here before. We must find the monster who did this." The crowd murmured in agreement.
Mr. Thompson, though equally troubled, urged patience. "We will investigate, but it's late. We can't leave her here in the cold. Let's take her home first." Old Man Jenkins gently persuaded Ethan, and finally, with a heavy heart, Ethan released Sarah. "Thank you all for your kindness," he choked out. "But I can bring her home myself." Jenkins sighed, patting Ethan's shoulder. "Don't be foolish, son. You're exhausted. Let the young men help." Ethan, his sprained ankle throbbing, conceded. 4 young men quickly fashioned a stretcher from banana leaves and strong vines. The mournful procession began, torches flickering in the night, illuminating the muddy path. As they passed a giant ancient banyan tree by the river, a sudden, sharp sound split the air. The vines holding the stretcher snapped, and Sarah's body fell to the muddy ground. The young men cried out in shock. Everyone rushed forward. As one of the men, still holding a flickering torch, shone it on Sarah's face, a collective gasp of horror, and then a joyous cry erupted. Sarah's eyes were wide open, staring at the sky, and from her lips a faint, almost imperceptible breath escaped. "She's alive! Sarah's alive! God has truly blessed us!" The heavy rain began again, the wind whipping around them, and the river churned, as if in joyous upheaval. Sarah, against all odds, had returned from the brink. Sarah's miraculous return brought immense relief and joy to her family and the entire village. Days later, when she had somewhat recovered, Mr. Thompson visited, hoping to understand what had happened. He wanted to know why she was in the pig cage, who had put her there, and how she had survived. But Sarah, her eyes vacant, simply shook her head. She remembered nothing. Mr. Thompson sighed, telling Ethan, "Just focus on her recovery. The one who did this will face their own reckoning." Ethan, though still aching for justice, saw Sarah's fragile state and could only nod. From that day on, the mystery of Sarah's ordeal was left untouched. But Sarah herself was different. The cheerful, hard-working woman they knew had vanished.
In her place was a distant, irritable stranger. She snapped at everyone, her words laced with a strange bitterness. Her housework was neglected, her once eager hands now idle. Most disturbingly, she seemed to have no interest in her daughter Daisy, leaving the child entirely to Mrs. Riley's care. Sarah would either lie motionless on the bed or wander aimlessly through the house, her gaze vacant.
One evening, after dinner, Sarah, as was her new routine, retreated to the bed. Mrs. Riley was outside feeding the pigs, so Daisy, restless and yearning for her mother, went to Sarah. "Mommy, play with Daisy," she babbled, tugging at Sarah's arm. The figure on the bed stirred, a frown creasing her brow. Slowly, her eyes opened, revealing an unsettling annoyance. "Leave me alone! Can't you see I'm trying to sleep?" she snapped, her voice harsh and unfamiliar.
Mrs. Riley, returning just then, overheard the exchange. Her heart ached for her crying granddaughter. She rushed to Daisy, pulling the child into her embrace. Then she turned to Sarah, her voice laced with rare anger. "What's wrong with you? Why are you so cruel to your own child? Don't you love her anymore?" Sarah, seemingly unfazed, simply turned away. "She's your grandchild. You take care of her. I need my rest." She then closed her eyes, dismissing them both. Mrs. Riley, hurt and bewildered, could only sigh, clutching Daisy tightly.
From that day on, Mrs. Riley bore the full burden of household chores and Daisy's care. Though weary, she persevered, attributing Sarah's erratic behavior to the trauma she had endured. She hoped that with time, Sarah would return to her old self. Ethan, arriving home late from the fields one evening, asked about Sarah. Mrs. Riley simply sighed. She ate dinner, then went to sleep. She barely even looks at her daughter anymore. Ethan's heart sank as he kissed Daisy's cheek, murmuring, "Be good, little one. Mommy's not feeling well right now."
He urged Mrs. Riley to rest, then headed to the well to wash up. As he scooped water, a faint whisper, "My love," seemed to float on the wind. He paused, looking around, but saw nothing but the deepening darkness. He dismissed it as his imagination, but then the whisper came again, clearer this time. "My love, save our child, save our child." A shiver ran down his spine. He raised his lamp, searching, but as he was about to step forward, a cold, unseen hand gripped his shoulder, pulling him back.
Ethan froze, heart pounding. He quickly recognized Sarah standing behind him. "Why aren't you sleeping?" he asked, trying to sound normal. But Sarah's face was utterly blank, her eyes staring, unblinking. "I needed to relieve myself," she said slowly. "My love, you're acting strange. And what's that red stain on your mouth?" he asked, shining the lamp closer. Sarah turned away, wiping her mouth, stammering, It's nothing." Ethan's voice grew sharper. "You were eating something, weren't you? There's fish still on your mouth." He laughed, trying to lighten the mood. Sarah, relieved, urged him to hurry inside. As Ethan turned to go, a chilling transformation occurred. Sarah's eyes glowed a malevolent red, and a grotesque smile stretched across her face. "Fool!" a deep, guttural voice hissed from her lips. "Get out, or you'll regret it." From the shadows behind the banana trees, a faint, translucent form began to materialize. The true spirit of Sarah.
The monstrous voice from Sarah's body continued, a guttural growl. "I've been here for 100 years beneath that banyan tree by the river. I'm a chan tin, a type of forest ogre in Vietnamese folklore. Now, a flesh-eating demon. I tasted human flesh, human heart, something I craved, something a mere forest demon could never hope for." The demon in Sarah's body laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "You're nothing but a wandering ghost. You have no power here. Begone!" The demon lashed out, a shadowy, clawed hand striking the ethereal Sarah, who shrieked and vanished into the darkness. The demon chuckled, then casually walked back into the house, into the room, and lay down on the bed, as if nothing had happened.
Ethan, unseen, had witnessed everything. He hadn't returned to the house, but had lingered, his suspicions growing. The red stain on Sarah's mouth, her strange behavior, the timing of her return after the pig killings, all of it now clicked into place. The final piece of the puzzle was the sudden, bizarre change in her voice and the violent act against the spectral Sarah. He knew now. The creature lying in his bed, wearing his wife's skin, was not Sarah. It was a demon. He fought to suppress his screams, his heart a raw, bleeding wound. His Sarah was gone, truly gone this time. He could only clench his fists, his body trembling, as he vowed revenge.
Little Timmy's funeral was simple, as befitted a child of 6. Old Man Jenkins, knowing the old customs, wrapped Timmy's small body in layers of cloth, then placed it in a wooden coffin, ensuring it was buried exactly at noon, a time believed to ensure a peaceful journey for the departed. Timmy's mother, Mrs. Lee, wailed inconsolably, her cries echoing through the village, a sound that brought tears to everyone's eyes. Ethan and Mrs. Riley were there, Mrs. Riley clutching Daisy, who was blissfully unaware of the tragedy. Ethan stood over the tiny grave, his face contorted with anger. "Demon," he whispered, his voice thick with hatred. "I will send you back to hell, soon." He clutched a small, faded hair tie, Sarah's in his hand. "Sarah," he thought, "forgive me if I harm your body, but I know you'll understand and help me."
The Hau River continued its relentless flow, as if understanding the grief that permeated the air. After Timmy's burial, Mr. Thompson gathered the villagers in his yard. "This situation is out of control," he said, his voice heavy with sorrow. "I am truly helpless. I will go to the district magistrate and ask for help. In the meantime, I beg you all, be extra vigilant. Do not go out at night alone. If you must, take someone with you." The villagers, trusting in Mr. Thompson's wisdom, nodded solemnly. They knew they had no other option.
Ethan stood silently, his gaze fixed on the river, his mind churning. Then, in a sudden burst of resolve, he walked up to Mr. Thompson and whispered something in his ear. Mr. Thompson's face paled, his eyes widening in shock and disbelief. He dismissed the villagers, asking only Old Man Jenkins and Ethan to stay. The 3 men then retreated into Mr. Thompson's main house, where they spoke in hushed tones for a long time.
Back at Ethan's house, Mrs. Riley was preparing cassava for Daisy, a simple meal in a simple time. Daisy, with no one to play with, wandered into the room where Sarah lay. She reached out her small hand, patting her mother's face. "Mommy, wake up! Play with Daisy!" The demon, in Sarah's body lay motionless. It avoided sunlight, preferring the darkness of the room, only stirring at night to seek its grotesque meals. Now, nourished by its recent feasts, it sought human life. Daisy's persistent tugging finally roused it. Its eyes snapped open, a chilling glint in their depths. "Go away," it hissed, "or I'll eat you too, you little brat."
Daisy, oblivious, giggled, thinking her mother was finally playing with her. She climbed onto the bed, burying her head in the demon's chest, seeking warmth and comfort. The demon's stomach rumbled, a ravenous hunger seizing it. It seized Daisy's arm, sniffing it, a grotesque smile spreading across its face. "What a delicious smell," it murmured. "Your whole family could be useful, but you, little one, you've come looking for death." Daisy, still innocent, laughed, embracing the demon's neck. As the demon raised its clawed hand, sharp and black, to strike Daisy, Ethan burst into the room. He snatched Daisy from its grasp, his voice a furious roar. "What are you doing? Stay away from my child!"
The demon, startled, quickly retracted its claws, feigning innocence. "What are you talking about? She's my daughter, too." Ethan's voice was cold, resolute. "Silence, demon! I know who you are. You're the monster who took my wife and terrorized this village." The demon's eyes glowed crimson. "You're clever, human, but it doesn't matter. You'll all die here tonight." It lunged at Ethan, who still clutched Daisy.
Suddenly, Old Man Jenkins, Mr. Thompson, and several of Mr. Thompson's servants burst into the room. Jenkins, holding a net woven from spirit-repelling plants adorned with powerful yellow talismans, cried out, "Demon, surrender!" He cast the net over the creature. The servants, acting swiftly on prearranged instructions, rushed forward, securing the corners of the net. The demon, caught off guard, struggled violently against the potent magic, its roars echoing through the house. Old Man Jenkins, a former exorcist from Chow Dock, had renounced his past life for love, but his skills remained. The demon shrieked, its body thrashing, a foul smoke rising from where the talismans touched its skin. Mrs. Riley, drawn by the commotion, screamed in horror. "Ethan, what are you doing to Sarah?" Ethan, without explanation, handed the crying Daisy to his mother. "She's not Sarah. Take Daisy and go to Mrs. Lee's house. Lock the door. I'll explain later." Mrs. Riley, terrified, fled with Daisy. Ethan, his gaze fixed on the struggling demon, asked Jenkins, "What now, Uncle?" Jenkins, pulling a thin, strong cord from his pocket, handed it to one of Mr. Thompson's trembling servants. "Wrap this around its neck, like a noose, quickly!" His hands were busy maintaining the net's power. The servant, trembling, approached the demon. It was weakening, its power drained by the talismans, no match for Jenkins's magic. "Come here and kill me," the demon taunted, its voice raspy. "Come here and end me, just like you ended Sarah." The servant stumbled back, horrified, stammering, "What are you saying?" The demon cackled, its red eyes fixed on Ethan. "You want to know who killed your wife? It was him. He dragged her into the bushes, raped her, strangled her, then put her in the pig cage to hide the body. I just happened upon her soul and took her body."
Ethan's face turned ashen. He stared at the servant, his eyes blazing. "Is it true? Did you kill my wife?" The servant, shaking uncontrollably, stammered, "No, it's not true! Don't listen to it!"
The demon laughed louder, its voice dripping with malice.
You're such a fool, Ethan. You lived with your wife's killer and never knew.
Ethan, consumed by rage, lunged at the servant, but Mr. Thompson intervened. Calm yourself, Ethan. We'll deal with him later. For now, we must defeat this demon. Don't let it distract us. Jenkins, his strength waning, urged Ethan.
Ethan, hurry! I can't hold it much longer.
Ethan, his mind a maelstrom of conflicting emotions, nodded. He snatched the cord from the terrified servant's hand and lunged at the demon, reaching through the net. As his hand reached its neck, he saw it, Sarah's face, etched with sorrow, her eyes weeping, looking at him with desperate pleading. His hand froze, the cord slipping.
My love, is it truly you?
He whispered, his voice broken.
My love, stand firm,
a faint voice whispered from the ethereal form.
I can't return. I'll only become a demon myself. Ethan, please, avenge me. End this.
The demon, seeing his hesitation, cackled triumphantly. Fool, you can't do it. You'll never have her back.
The spectral Sarah, her voice filled with a fierce love, cried out, No, demon, don't you dare! Ethan, my love, you've given me so much happiness. Please, end this now. The demon, still struggling against Jenkins and the 4 spirit-piercing nails Jenkins had driven into its limbs, shrieked. Ethan, his jaw set, looked at the fading image of his wife. Wait for me, he whispered, a silent promise. Then, with a cry of anguish, he tightened the cord around the demon's neck 3 times with all his might. The demon shrieked a horrifying guttural sound, and then a black, viscous smoke erupted from Sarah's body. Her form went limp, collapsing onto the ground, lifeless once more.
Ethan brought Sarah's body home and buried her in the sprawling field, without a formal funeral. The reasons for his decision remained a mystery to the villagers. The people of the Delta, however, breathed a collective sigh of relief. Their peaceful community had endured a terrible storm, but it was finally over. Mr. Thompson later ordered the banyan tree, the source of the demon's power, to be cut down and burned, ensuring no such horror would ever return. Today, a thriving pharmaceutical factory stands on that very spot, a testament to time's relentless march, and the dark past has faded into memory. The Hau River, ever constant, continues to flow, nurturing the land and its people.
And as the sun dips below the horizon, casting the river in hues of gold and amber, you might still see an old man, his hair streaked with gray, standing by the riverbank with a little girl. He sometimes smiles, murmuring to himself, as if conversing with an unseen presence. And if you listen closely, carried on the gentle breeze from across the water, you might hear a faint melancholic lullaby, a timeless echo of a love that transcended even death. Go where you will, my love, and I shall follow. In hunger or cold, I will endure. Even if our love should falter, let me still call you my love, and I shall return.